Do you feel that the PDP is going through a period of probable extinction?
I think that's putting it too high. The PDP is going through a crisis which normally attends electoral defeat. Many political parties suffer a degree of trauma when they are kicked out of power. And for a party like the PDP that claimed to be the largest party in Africa and claimed to be the most successful party in Africa for 16 years, suddenly to find itself as the opposition is more than a shock. I think they are suffering a bit of withdrawal syndrome, and the soul searching will go on for some time. They are bound to lose a few more of their states and a few more senators, a few more House members, a few more state assembly members. Not because there is any inherent deficiency in PDP as a party, but because the Nigerian politicians are mainly prostitutes. They jump from one party to another wherever they can get contracts or benefits. And because, unfortunately, the parties are not separated as much as they should ideologically or in terms of policies, it's very easy to migrate from PDP to APC without any change in ideology. No one is going to say, oh, you've moved from the left to the right, or from the right to the left if you moved from a PDP to APC. But for sure, PDP is bound to lose more members to the APC, but that's the way our politics, until people know that politics should be used as a platform for governance and for good governance, not as a platform for making illicit gains or for misusing public funds or for lining one's pocket with public resources. The movement will not change.
Let's look at the APC. Do you suppose that the APC has a policy direction, 6 months into this new administration? What are your thoughts?
I think the first point I'd like to make is that it's probably too early to judge the APC. They've been there for just about 6 months now, and the jury is still out. Secondly, I don't think the APC has come out with anything that is discernible as a policy. I cannot see any policy of APC, so I don't know what their policy is. Thirdly, and on the positive note, is that President Buhari has shown through his own leadership that his priority is to instill discipline in Nigerians and to ensure that there is rule of law. I agree with that as a starting point. I believe the difficulty that the country has suffered in several decades is the lack of discipline. That's the biggest problem we have as a nation, the impunity with which people act. And that impunity leads to regular, continuous, almost interminable misuse of public resources. What he's showing us today is that we have to obey our laws. We have to come to work on time. We have to follow whatever the rules and regulations are. And I think that is a fantastic starting point. If we get that right and we instill some discipline in people, then we are moving forward as a nation. But clearly we cannot continue as we are, because this is a lawless society. And Buhari has said to us, we should see him as a patriotic Nigerian who fought corruption to a standstill. And that's where he started. So he's trying to get us to be disciplined, and he's trying to fight corruption. Beyond those two, he hasn't articulated any policy that we have seen. The ministers have been in place for less than 4 weeks, and so it's perhaps too early for them to have come out with a clear vision as to what we need. We definitely need clear policies from them, because it's one thing to address corruption, but you also have to move the economy forward.
The dollar has risen 275 to the naira. How has this affected the equation, especially when you consider the 2016 budget?
Well, I think it's almost inevitable that they will have to devalue the naira at some point. The disconnect between the official exchange rate And the true exchange rate is so high, and so much rather, that they will have to devalue the exchange rates. They have to devalue the naira so as to get more naira for fewer dollars to finance their budget. I think it's inevitable. I don't see how else they are going to do it. So 2016, by every indication, looks like it's going to be very tough, extremely tough. But it's also going to witness the devaluation of the naira. And I'm not talking about maybe a 5-10% devaluation. I'll be surprised if it's not up to 20-30%. Ideally, the naira, the official rate should not be less than 250. Ideally. I'm sure when you say this, Nigerians throw up their hands in the air and say, oh, you want to inflict hardship on them. No, I don't want to inflict hardship on anyone. It's the people who are managing our economy that are inflicting the hardship on the people. And I'm one of the victims of their policy. As far as I can see, as an ordinary Nigerian, the policy somersaults that we have witnessed with the CBN do not inspire confidence in anyone as to what the CBN is doing, especially the management of that aspect of our economy. The CBN, through its own policy, has created artificial scarcity of foreign exchange. I think the CBN needs to go back to the drawing board and see what are the determinants of the demand for foreign exchange. Not the supply, we know what the determinants of the supply are, but we need to see what the demand and to make policies which are consistent with those policies. Unless you do that, the demand is not going to go away. Simply to take away 50 items and say the government is no longer supporting this is completely hopeless. To go and tell us every week almost that the amounts of foreign currency you can now spend on your Naira debit card is being restricted is useless. To tell us that you cannot deposit your dollars in the bank is useless. Not just because I say so, but because each of them has failed to work. There is nothing that he has done that has... The introduction of BVN for the BDCs has proved to be a spectacular disaster. Before he did that, the dollar was hovering around 220, 230. With introduction, the dollar has gone to 275. So whatever he is trying to achieve has simply failed.
Very interesting and very incisive thoughts from yourself. So we're going to take a short break, and when we come back, the professor will be telling us more about the Dasuki situation that has been in court for some time now. As a matter of fact, it has lingered. Join us again.